Hey, Hardcore Hog fans. Welcome to Prediction Thursday. I'm joined by my co-host, George Waddell. I'm Rick DeWeese, and he's in Beverly Hills, California. What's up, my brother?
What do you say, Ricardo Montalban?
I'm good, brother. Good to see you. We got a lot to unpack today. This is not our traditional Prediction Thursday. However, we're going to talk about all the coaching changes and hey, what we'd like to do for all of our Facebook fans and TikTok fans. We'd like for you to comment on what you think about the coaching changes. Since we don't have a score to predict this time around, you can certainly predict your next coach, but there's no winner because there's not very many coaches to pick from. George, let me ask you real quick. I mean, Sam Pittman's gone. Petrino turned right around and fired the entire defensive coaches, which I thought was a really, really good move. And don't get me wrong, I think Travis Williams is a great coach. He's going to go on to be a great coach. It just wasn't fitting at this particular time. And that's what happens in the coaching world. But what do you think about with Petrino coming in? First thing I want to talk about is, him cleaning house. And what do you think the new Petrino era looks like?
Well, the new Petrino era, that's going to be super interesting to see how the team reacts. You know, you spend all this time in the early part of the season preparing with coaches and preparing schemes, and the shit ain't working. So the open week, the firing of Sam Pittman and the hiring of Petrino, who knows how to be a head coach because he's done it, I think is good. It's not great because you never know what's going on in the locker room, but it had to be done, Rick. I mean, as Hog fans, we love Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman's like, Uncle Joe on Petticoat Junction. He's just a great guy, just somebody that you laugh with, and have a beer with. But just too many things that, I mean, I didn't understand why we received the ball in the first half. How many coin tosses did we win and we chose to take the ball? It just puts too much pressure on the offense. And so I think that the change was necessary, but I'm more concerned about how the players react than I am the fans or even the other coaches, because really the players are going to determine the rest of the season for the Hawks.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, everybody loves Sam Pittman. I was interviewed the other day by a TV station, and they asked me that exact question. And I said, look, every Razorback fan loves Sam Pittman, and every Razorback fan will support Sam Pittman in his next adventure. Whether he chooses to retire or continue on or consult or be whatever, everybody in Razorback Nation loves Sam Pittman. That aside, I think the players are united. The portal opens up for 30 days. And here we are on day 5, and nobody has registered to go into the portal. Nobody on offense, nobody on defense. So right now, especially since that's available to these guys, if you were thinking about it anyway before the firing happened or before the season turned sour, then you would have jumped in the portal right away, I believe. But it is open for them for 30 days, but I don't think anybody's going. And if they do, I don't think it'll be very meaningful. I think everybody's behind Petrino, and I think he'll do a great job. I love the guys that are coming in to coach the defense. I think we're going to be just fine.
Well, I'm not sure what the pedigree of the new defensive coaches are, but I've never seen a defense play so poorly as it did against Notre Dame. It was.
Hey, George, what if I told you this? So the guy coming in, he's a first-year Arkansas coach, but Petrino moved him over. His name is Chris Wilson. What if I told you he had a Super Bowl ring?
That helps.
Not as a player.
As a coach.
Defensive coach.
Nice.
With the Philadelphia Eagles.
Very nice.
He's been a defensive coordinator at Mississippi State.
Right.
He's been a defensive coordinator at Houston. This cat knows what he's doing, and Petrino completely trusts him. So I don't think we've got an issue with who's in charge of our defense now. Keep his name in mind. It's Chris Wilson.
Chris Wilson. I already like it. It's simple. It's easy to
Listen,
remember.
albeit he was the offensive line coach with the Philadelphia Eagles, but my man has a Super Bowl ring. Let's get that straight.
Okay, yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. So was Chris Wilson part of the staff already, or was he somebody that we downloaded?
No, yes, I do believe he might have been our defensive line coach as well.
Okay.
So he was already on staff. This is his first year with the Hogs, and he's now going to move to the defensive coordinator position. And then he has also selectively moved some other guys around to coach the linebackers, coach the line, at all,
Right.
and fill in those spots. But this cat knows what he's doing. Petrino has full confidence in him. Petrino, and my notes are terrible on the new offensive coordinator, but the guy I do know has been with Petrino at at Louisville and maybe Western Kentucky. That's where it was. But I know the guy's been with him that's going to be calling the plays, and I'm sure Bobby will have a lot to do with the offensive coordinator plays. But I think it definitely puts Bobby back on the field where I feel most comfortable him being. I didn't like him in the booth at all, to tell you the truth. So, hey, we'll see. I mean, this is he's got a 7-game debut to interview for this job. We got a couple of great candidates. I mean, we have Rhett Lashley, who's a former Razorback quarterback, and he's running it over there at SMU. Got a really good record. Kid's only 42 years old. He's like 37-10. He's doing the job. The other kid's John Summerall. He's at Tulane. He's doing a really good job. Now, he's pretty new at Tulane, but overall in his head coaching experience, I think he was with Troy, but he's about 37-10 in his career. So, and he's 42 or 43 years old. So they're very similar candidates. I did see some interviews with Lashley, and let me tell you, he gave the perfect, let me just go on the side and say, I'm very excited that Arkansas is chasing me. But the PC answer was, we're not thinking about that right now. Everything that's happening inside of my organization is inside the organization, and the outside noise is not bothering us. So, but you could see the look in his face was like, holy crap, the Razorbacks want to interview me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm excited about it. That was the look I got.
Yeah. And Lashley was a Razorback quarterback, right?
Yeah. I think like man, you're stretching me here. I don't have my notes, but he was a quarterback back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have it committed to memory either because there's been so many like gaps in my Razorback recall. Hang on a second.
Hey, it's LA.
Randolph Mantooth. Station 51.
Here comes the National Guard.
Yeah. No, let me tell you.
Lord.
I've been in LA for the last 5 days, and it has been, and I don't want to get anybody disturbed, but it has been very busy as far as emergency vehicles, as far as helicopters. Shit is getting real.
That's because your governor's Gavin Newsom, and he's a dumbass. I hate to say that on live TV, but by God, he's everything. I don't care if Trump says, look at that beautiful blue sky. Gavin Newsom will go, that's the ugliest sky I've ever seen in my life. It has a cloud in it.
We got helicopters right now. Yeah. Exciting. It's like the 70s TV shows, like
Emergency.
Or Rockford Files, or, it's like, that happened right down the street.
Hey, speaking of TV shows, we've talked about this whole Gilligan's Island deal.
Yeah.
And it does suck to be a Razorback fan and stuck on Gilligan's Island. You made a comment the other day on a text that you and I were back and forth on, and I thought it was awesome, and I wanted to bring it up. You go, for God's sakes, can we please get off Gilligan's Island and go to Fantasy Island?
Yeah. Zipline. Look, boss, he's the plane. He's coming down.
Can we please get to Fantasy Island?
Yeah. We need off Gilligan's boat and get on the Love Boat.
That's another good one. Can we just get on the Love Boat? That's all Right.
And, so you do have Petrino with, now both reins in hand. What changes, I heard on his news conference that, he wants hands in the dirt, people in the right spot, and, kind of a base defense, everybody running and hustling to the ball. I mean, was that not happening?
Well, probably not because he didn't have control of that side. I will say what I recognized from the team is I recognized there was definitely a defense and there was definitely an offense, and they were two separate categories of Razorback football. And what I think, and like I talk about the defensive line, linebackers, and secondary, what I think about is if your defense is playing poorly, it taxes your offense big time. And same way, if your offense is playing poorly, it taxes your defense. So like I've been saying this entire season, when your defensive line plays like shit, your entire defense plays like shit. And at the end of the day, though, that all comes over to the offense. Well, I think the offense has done a pretty darn good job of having a good season. I mean, obviously, getting blanked in the second half of the Notre Dame game is not great, and only scoring one touchdown in the Notre Dame game isn't great. But I think that's an example and a result of just being taxed by a terrible defense.
Well, and Rick, the end of the first half of that game, I mean, you talk about what that locker room was probably like at halftime, knowing that your coach is dead man walking. They all knew it in the locker room on the defensive side when there's 42 points hung on you in the first half. How many yards was there? It was
400.
I mean, what do you say at halftime?
I can't imagine how bad that speech was, to be honest with you, other than basically Sam was conceding to the team. And hey, I'm proud of them that it didn't get out of control. I mean, the second half was only what, 12 or 13 to nothing, 10 to nothing, maybe. They scored 10 more points.
Yeah, but football coaches have a way of pulling their foot off the gas when it's second half and they're up 52-13. And what a humiliate, well, not humiliating, but the injury too on top of everything else. I mean, that catastrophic injury, and I'm just, so hopeful that he's okay, but I mean, it's hard
Hey,
to,
that's the welcome to hog football.
yeah.
If you're a new fan to hog football, I mean, you can bet you're going to lose on the last drive. You're going to
Yeah.
have a key player go down.
Yeah.
You're going to,
Yeah.
I mean, it extends from there. I mean, it
You
gets worse, trust me.
think you're going to get off the island.
No, I know.
And at the end of the first half, I think is really kind of affected the offense in the second half. They were probably hurting for their comrade, and the fumble at midfield allowing Notre Dame to come right back and double up. It was humiliating.
Yeah.
And to see that score up there at halftime, and then the stands emptying out, the boos in the crowd. These guys don't deserve boos, but
No.
people they're just disgusted with the way things were headed because it just didn't seem like anybody gave a shit.
Well, the downside here is, I mean, new head coach, new defensive coaches, same players. So the difference is, can you move these players around? Can you generate something that changes the game? Because the last thing you want is rinse and repeat with the new coaches, because they don't have an opportunity to go chase these guys either out of high school or in the portal. Maybe there's some guys in the portal from other schools that they can snag, and I don't know how that's going to happen or how that works. But at the end of the day, you're talking about the same personnel. And so I don't think what we have is a motivation problem on defense. I mean, I think what we have on defense is a talent problem. And unless they can bring some offensive linemen that can tackle up in there or make some changes on the D-line, I'm telling you, and I've been saying it the whole time, and maybe we'll see this in the next 7 games. Those linebackers are good, and those secondary guys, cornerbacks and safeties, they're good. They've just been crippled by a terrible defensive line. And I hate to say that. I don't know who those young gentlemen are, but they're just not the quality or caliber of kid that needs to be playing defensive line for the Arkansas Razorback.
Yeah, and going into the season, I think that was everybody's question mark. And so that has that has played out exactly the way people suspected. I want to say I think it was Lang that said, we're lacking one or two good 5-star players, and we're not that far away, but we just can't afford to make mistakes. And so when you make the mistakes early or late, that definitely affects the game. But I think you're minus an awesome defensive end, or a
Hmm.
defensive tackle that can take up so much space that you have to run around it. And so you point the offense wherever these game changers are, like Lawrence Taylor used to do in the NFL. You didn't run to Lawrence Taylor's side. You just didn't do it. It's stupid. Bad strategy. Even in
And you're
Salem.
right. You're right. You only need one or two of those kind of guys, somebody off the edge or somebody up the middle that you're a little bit worried about. But with Arkansas, there's nobody to worry about. And so that creates a whole different situation. And like I've said before in the past, coaches can't call the right plays. Linebackers are having to fill in. And all of a sudden, now you're just totally out of position on defense because you got nobody on the line that can get the job done. So, if I'm critical on anything this year, it's been the defensive line, and that's for sure. But I think offense is fine. I think we'll do better. I think we'll get better. Hopefully, these guys can fix that D line because I'm telling you, it's not like you've got to fix the entire defense, George. You just have to fix the defensive line. And when you do, we will accelerate. I mean, defense will accelerate, I promise.
Yeah, and I guess you have to work with what's in the toolbox. So you were right and not misquoting. If there's a couple of guys on the offensive line that can do more than hold, they can tackle, then put those some bitches on the defense. Get somebody
Absolutely.
in
Move them
there
over.
that
Right.
wants to
Because,
play.
hey, I've also said this in a lot of texts. I don't know if I've gone on the air and said it, but if you go back and look at some of these games, our defense is better off with the defensive line standing on the sidelines. I mean, we would be better playing with just the linebackers and just the secondary and no D line. I mean, I really feel that way because
Well,
they have done nothing but cause problems.
they're what do you call them? Blocker dummies. What do you
Yeah,
call
they're
them? Yeah.
blocking, right? I'd rather set up the blocking dummies on the defensive line
Yeah,
and
that's what they
let
are.
everybody else do their job.
Yeah, the defense was terrible, and then for the next 7 games we went through the schedule at the beginning of the year, and we were 5-0, rolling through Notre Dame, and we've hit a stumbling block, but that's
And
okay.
I predicted the loss here. Hell, I predicted a lot of losses after 5-0. I had us 5-0, and I was pretty damn close. I was a couple of final drives away from 4-0 at least.
Yeah,
And I think that 5-0, we'd had a different attitude going into Notre Dame. But yeah, at the end of the day, I had this train kind of going off the tracks after Notre Dame. That worries me. That means that Bobby Petrino has a very difficult resume or a very difficult audition to deal with in the next 7 games. But hey, I'd love to see him catch lightning in a bottle
yeah.
and ignite this fan base, ignite these sports writers, ignite everybody in a very difficult path to the finish. I mean, it's going to be a very difficult path to finish.
Yeah,
But
and Rick, the thing that I think most Razorback fans kind of have in the back of their mind is really the last time we were in any kind of position to have glory and success is when Bobby Petrino was the head coach. And then what happened to him? We had no other choice but to let him go. And of course, that was appropriate. But here we are, Boomerang Bobby. We've got him back with 7 games to go. And I think Razorback fans are like, they didn't like the way it ended the last time. You know, it's kind of like dating an old girlfriend. You
Yeah.
didn't like the way you broke up the first time, but, you know, maybe the second time around, I think the Commodores or somebody came up with that. Let's give it a shot. You know, it is the most difficult 7-game interview possible in sports. I
Well,
can't
I
think of
totally
a
agree. Totally agree. I think, that was 14 years ago. And if you think about it, George, you and I would love to see Petrino be successful in this interview, in this audition, and become the coach again because we want to see him pick up where he left off. I mean, the Razorbacks were top 5 in the nation, the best we'd ever been. I mean, it was smooth sailing until somebody bought him a motorcycle. All that aside, and I got nothing against them. I would be happy if Rhett Lashley or John Summerall were the coach as well. I'm just not. You and I have been around this game long enough. I don't like to test the up and comers again. But Bobby Petrino was an up and comer when he got there.
yeah.
But I do want to see him. I hope he's successful. I want to see him continue where he left off. And I think he's got a great offensive mind. I think he had the right defensive coaches back then. Hopefully, he can get the band back together, so to speak,
Yeah.
and the Hogs can be successful again.
Yeah, I mean, he's got definitely one hand tied behind his back because if he did have a fresh season, he would be able to go out in the free agency and pick the players he wanted, pick the coaches he wanted, but he's got to work with the tools he has in the box. And
That's
so
right.
I think he's going to make the best of it just given his competitive nature. I think it's the team that is really got to either rally around him and respond to the way he coaches because it's so much different than the way Pittman coaches. And if they do that, then I think we could upset a couple of teams down the stretch. But if he completely loses the team, then it's going to be a really, really short wait until basketball.
Well, I think this is my confidence speaking here. 17 years ago when he got to Razorback Stadium, that was the days when kids, and you got to remember too, George, these new fans, these kids that go to school there today were being born when he started and they were 4 years old when he left.
Yeah. Wow.
You follow? Yeah. So they don't know what they don't know. But what I can tell you, and maybe Bobby Petrino's up on NIL and collective and transfer portal. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know. But I will say back in the day, 17 years ago when he started, you came into the program and you got what you got. You didn't have an opportunity to go pay a player or recruit a kid from Georgia, a kid from Mississippi State that was kicking ass, and you can pay him a couple of $100,000 or whatever, wasn't available. Now that's available. So why I think Petrino is going to do so well is because that's what he came into the first time. He came into a crew that he was stuck with, other than high school kids and kids that wanted to transfer and lose a year. That's the way it worked back then. It wasn't like you could just go hire a professional football team to play.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
I think he's in his own environment.
that's a good point, Rick, because in old college football, when you talk about parochial schools like Arkansas, where there is such an intense fan base and everybody that plays Arkansas high school football wanted to be a Razorback and it was, just part of that old college charm that you got to play for the Razorbacks, even if you had to walk on to the Hogs. It was just one of those things. Now they are cobbling together teams with players from all over the country that probably didn't know where Arkansas was on the map until they started getting recruited by Arkansas. And it's no, I mean, we've got to do that because there's 3.5 million people in Arkansas and not very many ninth graders grow up to be 6'4" and 185 pounds. It's it's one of those things where you've got to have a brand that is nationwide and to be able to do that, there are 12 billionaires that come that have their roots in the University of Arkansas. And so we have got to step up as a fan base and prove to these guys that it's worth their money to build this brand, the Arkansas brand, whatever that is. And I'll tell you what it used to be. What it used to be was when we were in the Southwest Conference and all these Texas schools were outfitting their players, their best players in cars and cash and women and all that. Arkansas kind of stood as one of the only, if not the only, program that never got popped for something like that. And there may have been that stuff going on, but Arkansas always had the clean program. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's who we are. We're not going to cheat. We're not going to cheat. We'll get cheated on or get cheated, but we're
Right.
not going to cheat to win. And we as a program, I think, didn't have the infrastructure of paying players or having that reservoir of
Booster
supporter
money.
booster money
Boosters.
that would go out and buy players. So we've kind of started from scratch, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're as rich in heritage and in alumni as the University of Arkansas,
And our
you should be
facility.
able to compete in today's game.
No, I agree. And our facility is top notch, but that's where we've chosen to spend the money in the past is, we built that beautiful facility and it's very attractive to recruits. So I totally agree with you. Nobody really knows where Arkansas is because we've just never really been in the national spotlight and we need to be. They know we're an SEC team and that's why they come here. They want to play in the SEC.
Yeah.
They may not necessarily want to choose Arkansas, but
Hey,
hey, if you want to play D1 college football in the SEC and Arkansas is your spot, that's how they land here. I
yeah,
get that.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I hate it. I like for us to have more of a heritage program, like in Alabama, and you got to get there, you got to earn it.
Yeah, I
And,
think you
you
have
got
to
to win
earn
some
it,
titles.
and it's gonna take a lot of money because now it's a money to race to money and buying players. It's the wild wild west. You've got players in college making more than rookies in the NFL because of branding and all this NIL stuff, which it makes a little bit of sense because I think colleges, for the most part, have a very intense fan base as opposed to like NFL teams. Like, growing up, it seemed like the NFL team I liked the most was the one that had the most Razorbacks on it because we didn't have one. We were
That's
like,
right.
yeah, we were like, who do we pull for? We didn't want to pull for the Dallas Cowboys, or some people didn't. Me, I didn't want to pull for the
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys because they're a freaking Texas team. And so,
Right.
St. Louis Cardinals, but yeah, what I'm saying is the college fan base is more intense, I think, than the NFL when it comes to player identity because it's more short term.
Yeah, you're totally right. I talked to a guy the other day, and I was out of town. He said, "Oh, you're from Arkansas." I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And he was from I can't remember where, but they got a pro football team, and he was all about their pro football team. And I'm like, "I'm an Arkansas Razorback, brother. We don't have a pro football team. We don't
Yeah,
have a pro anything team." I said, "Our fan base," and he goes, "Oh yeah, no, I've heard about Arkansas. You guys are crazy.
yeah,
Y'all are football fans." I said, "Well, it's all we have is Razorback football and Razorback baseball."
and
It was
basketball.
great conversation though, as
Yeah,
far as he was like, "Oh yeah, 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 I'm totally with you. I get," because he was a rabid fan. They just wherever he was from, I wish I could remember. They didn't have a college in his location. They were just totally pro football only. So no good college to root for. And he was like, "God, I wish I could root for a great college."
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, you look at the Northeast, all the colleges up there like Rutgers and UConn,
Yeah,
and they compete with the NFL teams, the New Englands, the Jets, the Giants,
yeah,
the Eagles, all those teams. So, they get their fill of football on Sunday. And, we're more apt to, spend our entire Saturday watching every college football game you can.
Exactly,
And
and
one
probably from Razorback Stadium.
yeah, yeah. And there again, the fans are going to really need to rally and believe that they can come back because at the end of the game, the Notre Dame game, it was
That
a
was
riot.
No, it was terrible. Well, when you get an ass whipping that bad, which has been the worst in I don't know how many years, everybody kind of bailed out and said, forget this deal. So
Yeah. Everybody needed
anyway,
this open week. Everybody needed this open week.
well, and I think the timing of letting Sam go was perfect because Bobby Petrino needed this week. These new coaches that are moving into new positions needed this week. I think the players needed this week. I think the fans needed this week.
Yeah.
You know, I don't listen to a lot of talk radio. I've listened to some of it, but I don't listen to a ton of it because there's so many fans. I mean, you're really just hearing from the top 10% of fans or, the 10% that care to voice their opinion. If you look at it over the years, 80 to 90%, I think I said it last week, of Razorback fans love the Razorbacks. And we're used to winning. We're used to losing. We're used to getting our heart broken. We're used to having a heart attack at the end of the game. We're used to being a Razorback fan. And I think that's 80, 90% of the folks that don't call into radio talk shows. So what you're hearing is the top group that just wants to rumble about nothing. I mean, some of it is so stupid, but anyway, at the end of the day, we're all true Razorback fans, and we love the Hogs, and however this thing progresses forward, people come and people go, but there's nothing better than watching Razorback football.
I agree. And fans like that, if you can sit there and criticize and be as negative and dog mouth as you want, but when it comes down to it, you've got to have a positive outlook that things can get better. Because if you're always predicting demise, you're going to fail
Oh, yeah.
because it's easy to do. But if you can be upbeat and positive and think that, we can get better, that we do have a great, brand name, we do things the right way. We just, I think, just have had a run of bad luck.
Hey, maybe one day we turn this into a call-in show and we'll see if we can deal with some of these people because sometimes I wonder how my friends in this business deal with that on a daily basis when their entire show is basically a call-in show
Yeah.
and they hear the same people say the same thing. And at some point you just got to go, Lord have mercy. Where's the other 80%?
Yeah. Where's the other 80% that are
Yeah,
afraid to be called Homer or
right.
whatnot? But I don't hear that. I hear you. I don't hear that noise that is out there because I know a lot of it comes on the radio because that's where people feel like that they can be big shot and did you hear me on the radio? Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I get my news from the other people. I don't get it from the call-in shows that much. I mean, I listen because I like those guys, and so I listen, but I kind of block out the noise
yeah. Yeah.
of the yay-hos that call in and
Yeah. Yeah.
ask stupid questions.
Yeah. Well, buddy,
So
my son just walked in the door. He's been out to dinner, but he flies back to Arkansas. He's going to be in a short
I
film.
love it.
He played a part in a production that on these apps. They're like vertical drama apps. They're hugely popular all over the world, especially in Asia and all this. But it was the number one viewed story on that app. He walked in. Stella has a big weekend. She turns 27 and she is DJing at a huge event on Saturday night in Hollywood. And then Sterling just released her album and she was up on Sunset Strip last night performing live on the Sunset Strip at the Roxy. Have a height of it?
Bro, you got it going on. I mean,
The
you
kids
know,
got it going on. The kids
yeah,
have it going on. They just
yeah,
needed a platform. And
yeah, yeah.
that's a good point to bring up because they didn't grow up around here, but they have made the most of everything that they are to be successful, and they've done it the right way. And I think that's what being from Arkansas really is all about, is getting what you want, but doing it the right way.
Totally agree. And you got three of the best kids in the world, so that ought to.
Yeah, despite me, they turned out all right.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Good to see you. We'll have to determine who won last week. I have it was so painful for me. I think it was. Did you ever look at the?
I think it could have been Sean.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to.
You'll
I'll
have
to look.
to look at it, but he'll be joining us next week, so I
Yeah.
think that's our winner.
All right. Well, we'll get old Sean on for a guest appearance.
All right. Shout out to all of y'all that watched the entire deal.
No doubt.
Sean.
No
I mean, if you
doubt.
watched all 40 minutes, y'all are
minutes.
super hardcore hog fans.
All right.
Shout out, brother.
Later.